You're listening to the CDKL5 in Color podcast. It's June, and that means it's CDKL5 Awareness Month. We are doing things a little differently on the podcast this month. We're diving into some emotional topics and sharing insights direct from our peer caregivers. Our children who live with CDKL5 deficiency disorder are so loved, but life with CDKL5 is hard. So join us as we talk about it. Let's jump right in.
Hi, Amanda.
Hey, Marissa.
How's it going?
It's going well. I can't believe we're traveling so fast through June.
I know. It's really flying by. We are on our 4th episode of our caregiver series where we asked our peer CDKL5 caregivers to answer some emotional questions to talk about life with CDKL5. And actually, this is a really powerful one that we asked. It's, how has this diagnosis changed you? So I went through everybody's responses and we're actually going to read them out. We're going to read all of them today because they're powerful. They were in sort of these themes of it being emotional and increasing people's empathy, also making us stronger. And then it's changed people's perspective and opened their eyes. So I think let's just hear from our community and we'll read through them and we'll talk along the way if we feel so motivated. You want to read the first one?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything makes me cry. I'm weaker and I'm stronger. I have less of a filter and speak my mind. I embrace small moments. I understand other people's pain much more because of the pain this disease has caused our family. I look at caregivers behind a wheelchair differently. I notice them. Priorities in life have shifted. Exhausted. I understand what a seizure is and I hate it. I don't judge anything people do. You don't know their full story. Embrace everyone with love. We all need it. I will fight hard for what I believe and the ones I love. It's pretty powerful, the whole I notice them.
Being able to identify with somebody else increases your ability to notice them. If you saw somebody pushing a wheelchair before, you couldn't even identify with that. And so it didn't even register with you because there was no connection. But now there's a connection.
Well, and we ignore what makes us uncomfortable, I feel like sometimes too.
Yes.
Like if you can look away and go, and we see that a lot, people are just like, ooh, that's a tough one. And, gaze switches or else they're staring, but anyhow.
No, that's so true. I mean, we do look away from what is uncomfortable, but when you're living a life where these things are now central to your experience as a family or as a mother, you don't look away. And part of that not looking away is because you're desperate for connection. Yes. You want connection with other people who are also understanding this situation we're in, which is not a situation that the general public easily understands. All right. The next one says, I have learned so much about the human body. I have thought about things I never would have before unless I had a special needs child, like carts at a store, how wide hallways and door frames are. My memory is great in one area, but trash in another. My heart has grown for a new community I wasn't really exposed to 4 years prior. The amount of knowledge I have about, I don't know about the human body, but just about stuff that I never, ever would have thought about before is incredible to me.
I'm with you. I spent a lot of years reading about epilepsy and sometimes stuff sticks and I'm like, it definitely throws you out of your comfort zone and forces you to learn new things.
Learn new things and build skills. Build skills that you didn't, I can troubleshoot a feeding pump. Like I never would have needed to know that 9 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really wild.
Medical terminology, everything is like you get used to it. For those of you that might be fairly newly diagnosed, it'll start to stick and you'll read those reports and be like, okay, I think this is what they're saying.
Yeah. And then you get people asking you if you're a nurse.
Yeah.
Are you a doctor? Are you a nurse?
Yeah.
No, I have a kid with medical complexities.
I'm both.
I know a lot of words. Right. Or I'm a pseudo. Oh my goodness. All right. What's the next one?
Okay. I'm not a confrontational person. I hate it. But how quick that changes when it comes to your kids and boundaries.
Oh my goodness. It's so true.
Advocacy can be very uncomfortable. And I think we start to figure out that expecting something from people who are interacting with your kid, it's okay. deliver the message in a positive way if you can. You catch more flies with honey is always what I try to tell myself. Unfortunately, these people who we go and see to try to get answers from often know a lot less than us about the situation in front of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, and no one's going to speak up for your kid like you are going to speak up for your kid.
Exactly.
So if you were someone who didn't like to speak up before, and that was me, I would never have questioned a doctor before. I usually just keep my mouth shut, but not anymore. No, because Gregory's literal life could depend on it. Speak up. If you see something that's wrong, speak up. If you have questions, ask it. Our kids are not able to speak up for themselves. We've got to speak up for them. So you've got to get comfortable with it. And you will as time goes on.
Yes. And you have to recognize when you're in a place like a PQ that the people you're depending on are also in a highly stressful and busy environment. So, I try not to take it personal. And I think that helps me.
You can't take it personal. No.
Is just to be like, all right, we're going to figure this out. And if we can't figure this out, we're going to call in a child advocate that can mediate between us. Because that's always an option too. You can always likely find someone to be in the middle.
Absolutely. Speaking up doesn't mean yelling. It means getting what you need.
Right.
So you got to be able to do it. All right. This person said, we've learned to be patient, take one day at a time, and to be strong.
Yeah. One thing I had to think about and come around to is we're not victims. The world doesn't owe us any more than the next person, which is nothing. And finding your strength, being like, all right, this is a hand I didn't ask to be dealt, but I'm going to play it. So, okay. I have become far more cynical and isolated while also becoming more aware of the lack of disability support and acceptance in society as a whole.
Yeah. I can identify with that, especially when you see how unfair certain things are, or like we talked in the last episode, the bureaucracy and burden that hoops you have to jump through to get basic things that you need. You do become cynical.
Yeah. You just, find some humor in your cynicism.
Right. Don't live there, but it definitely happens.
Yeah. The next person said, it has helped me realize that everyone is going through something really hard in their life, no matter what it was. It has brought me closer to God and trusting to Him and His plan for me. At first, I felt so angry that this was happening. And as we've gone on, I've realized that everyone is going through something really hard in one way or another. That's just what it is to be human. So I try not to feel too sorry for myself and just do the best with taking care of my family.
That's a really nice perspective.
Mm-hmm. The human experience is diverse and we all suffer. I mean, really though, right? I'm just like, dude.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's getting out of life without some hardship. It might not be dramatic hardship, but most people know what it's like to struggle in something.
Yeah. We all feel.
Mm-hmm. And that idea of trying not to feel too sorry for yourself. It's easy to get caught up in feeling sorry for yourself, but you can't live there all the time. You have to find a way to dust yourself off and say, this isn't what I wanted, but how can I make the best of it?
Somebody's always going through something worse. That's where I try to also shift to is like, this is a bad day, but I'm not having that day. It could
honestly.
Be better. It could always be worse, right?
Sure. Yeah. All right. This person said, it has opened my eyes. I didn't realize how easy my life was before. It has made me more cynical and frustrated. I would love to be able to say it's made me a better person, but I don't feel that way. If anything, it has made me less tolerant of other people and their perceived problems. They have no idea. Things that I used to get hyped up about, like if my house was clean or decorating for a dinner party, I just don't give a shit anymore. I used to wear makeup and do my hair every day. Now I don't even shower every day. I just don't care about the same things anymore. I often feel sorry for our situation because it is so never ending and tiring. It has increased my anxiety in some ways. The old things I used to feel anxious about, I completely dismiss now. And in that aspect, I feel stronger. But the things I worry about now are so much bigger.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with this person on like the house, the little things that are really big things to people are just not in my purview anymore. And I don't know. Will I look back and regret that ever? I don't know. I doubt it.
I can totally agree with this. The things that used to stress me out, I handle like no problem now because I've got new things that stress me out. that are way more stressful than those things ever were. So
people's problems that seem petty to me. I mean, they are petty to me, but they're not petty to them. So I've had to become really aware of how I interact with those people when they're sharing petty problems. I can listen, but then also only for so long. You know me well. Like pretty soon I'm off thinking about things because I don't want to hear about little Johnny taking your kid's book or something. I mean, I don't know. It's just some things are just so simple and so not worth getting upset about that I have less tolerance for that, but I also try to identify things that are big to other people are big to them. And that's a reality, whether I agree with it or not.
Yeah. Well, that's part of being someone's friend, right? Recognizing that this is impacting them, even though you think, I wish that was my problem.
Yeah. Come on over.
You know, right. I mean, that's part of being someone's friend is that this is stressful for them. So I'm going to hear them out. And I also think our friends, the ones who really have stuck around with us and are understanding and empathize with us, recognize and moderate what they share with us. Like they're not going to share.
Yeah, they don't burden us with the small things.
Right.
Yep.
You
No,
know,
and they're, my friends that have stuck around. Yeah.
Yeah, they have some self-awareness.
They don't expect me to text or call. You know, like we can pick right back up and they get it. It's not personal.
Yeah.
And I try not to burden them with things that they just can't imagine either.
All right. What's another one?
I constantly mourn the dream of the person I thought she would be.
Yeah, that's hard.
That is hard. And hopefully that gets better.
Yeah.
It doesn't go away.
No, it has gotten better for me though. I think especially when you have a baby. You know, my son was diagnosed at 6 months old, and you have a baby of all these hopes and dreams of what their life is going to be like and what your life together is going to be like. And there is a sadness to realizing it's not going to be like that. I think I've said before, getting to know your child as they grow helps heal that.
Yeah.
Because you appreciate them for who they are. Yeah. And then you're not picturing them different because they're here as they are. But it's hard when they're little.
Especially as they get older. It's hard when they're little.
This next person said, just really short, dumb stuff doesn't matter.
I love you, it's kind of like, you are.
Dumb stuff doesn't matter. It's true. You gotta prioritize the stuff that matters, and dumb stuff gets kicked to the curb.
Doesn't. So the next person said, I think it's helped me worry less about outside perceptions. And I spend a lot less time comparing myself to others. I've become more comfortable with being vulnerable and honest. I also think I'm more empathetic towards others and give people the benefit of the doubt more than I used to. It's not an unfamiliar theme from above.
Mm-hmm. And I think that idea of being comfortable with being vulnerable, we are vulnerable a lot, I feel like, because sometimes the ground that we're on is so unsteady.
Yeah.
I think the idea of comparing yourself to others, doing less of that is really healthy. Because that's what sometimes makes you feel sad is when you're comparing your life to somebody else's life. I mean, we see that with anybody, with teenagers, with social media, you know, that comparison.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah. The less you can do that, the healthier you'll feel. Definitely.
Okay. It changes everything. I had to change hopes and dreams that I had for my child before he was born. And the imaginings of all the things that could have been, and really learn to celebrate all the little wins.
Yeah. It makes a difference. You know, the things that you thought were worth celebrating before are totally different.
The inch stones, right? Our kids do learn and grow at a very different pace. And it's actually very fulfilling to see them hit inch stones versus milestones.
Celebrating them because we know how much effort it took for those inch stones to happen. And that is something to celebrate. Our kids work hard.
Yes.
This person said, through the years, we've had to change our thinking about our daughter and her diagnosis. With every stage, our priorities and what she needs have changed. Readjusting our life has become a norm for our family. Sometimes we get to adjust for the better and are able to do more. Other times we have to protect her more, and other aspects of life are put on hold. That's true, right? There are some natural phases from the babyhood and the birth to 3 to the entering the school to the puberty to the transition. And then there are stages that don't follow that sort of natural progression. You know, if there's a big setback with health or something else happens, readjusting is a skill that you have to build.
you have to go with the flow. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but even making plans. Oh, we were going to join our friends at the zoo today or something like that. Like if it's just not the day to do it, I've stopped forcing that. There's days I'm like, I don't really want to do this. And I try and I'm glad I did. But you have to be flexible. Expect change.
Yes, expect change.
Yeah.
That is a good way to think about it.
Okay, this next person said, it's made me never take life for granted. I honestly think that's something I can identify with. And not just our children's life, it's anybody's. Like life is fleeting and precious. And one day we're here and one day we're gone.
You never know how your life is going to change. So appreciate where you are.
Yeah. And we're all headed there. The
We're all
end
headed
result
toward
is
the
the
end.
same for us. It's the definitive finality of life. So
Good Lord.
we're not immune from it, right?
No. This person said, you learn to find the joy in a lot of ordinary moments. You give up what seems to be a lot of ordinary things that you imagine doing with your kids someday, like teaching them how to drive, helping them pick out a prom dress, etc. But you gain so much joy when they look at you and smile big, when they meet a milestone, and when they have a seizure-free and happy day. I really appreciate when people find joy in the things that their children do. I'll tell you, yesterday, Gregor got home from school and he never smiles. Like, sometimes he has like a nice face on, but he doesn't smile. And he was up the whole night but he didn't have any seizures at school and he stayed awake the whole day and I couldn't believe it. And I said to him, you stayed awake the whole day? I'm so surprised. And he had this like corner come up. And I don't know if it was like a weird neuro thing or if he really was smiling at what I said because he never does that. But the feeling that I had, literally, it never happens that I say something to him and he responds in a way that I know that he acknowledges that I said something to him. And when he did it, and don't know if he did it on purpose, but let's assume he did. It was unbelievable feeling.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable feeling.
I would be way more on he did do it on purpose. Like
he never does
being
that.
Like, ha, mom. Maybe it's a skill he's getting. It's motor. Like he's at school. He's doing a lot of stuff. You never know. Like their development is just a mystery. Okay, so this last person said, so many things to list, but definitely not the same person I used to be. However, the biggest is how much it has opened my eyes to the world of disabilities and advocacy.
Yeah, I'm not the same person I was 9 years ago.
Oh, I'm not either. And I can't imagine the person I would have been without Ava. I'm definitely probably a much better human, just in general.
I think one of the things that it's done for me, this diagnosis, is it's made me realize how lucky we are to have our health and have the ability to communicate our needs and our wants and live with independence, because I recognize that my son doesn't have that same experience. And I can't imagine depending on someone else to facilitate my life without any input. And I try and do the best I can by my son, but it makes me appreciate that I'm able to speak up and say what I want and what I need, and that my brain works properly. All the varieties of the ways that it has changed us.
Yeah.
Having a diagnosis.
I think the themes were somewhat consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's been fun, and we will be back next week with our final awareness episode.
Yep. Looking forward to it.
All right. You have a great rest of your day. See you soon.
You too. Bye.
Thanks for listening. We hope you'll follow us on social media at CDKL5 in color on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and visit us online at www.cdkl5incolor.com. Have questions or a topic you'd like us to chat about? Would you like to be a guest on our podcast? Email us cdkl5incolor@gmail.com and we'll be in touch. Until next time.